Aloha and welcome back. This is the Two-Wheel Revolution here on ThinkTechHawaii.com. I am your host, Peter Rosegg, and today we're going to kind of do a virtual visit to another e-bike store and learn a little bit more about how to select an e-bike. So stick around. We'll be back in a moment. All right, welcome back. Happy to introduce Iniki Galway, who is the marketing manager for eBikes Hawaii, which is a store. There's one branch in Kapahulu, there's one out in Kapolei, and I understand there's one on the Big Island as well. And they really are specialists in some of the high end and some of the best e-bikes you can get. We visited another store earlier. I will continue to go around to some of the stores that sell e-bikes, but this is a really valuable thing for us. So Iniki, welcome and aloha.
Aloha. Thank you for introducing me. I really appreciate that. I'm really looking forward to a Honolulu that's more integrated into, technology that takes you where you need to go.
All right. Before we get into that part, I have to ask you a question. I've been around here for a long time, and when somebody says Iniki to me, I think of a hurricane that mostly hit Kauai, a little bit hit Honolulu some years ago. So are you named after that hurricane?
I was. My parents, though they were here in Honolulu, they anticipated the hurricane. They saw that it was coming. It was all over the news, and they named me after it. And then they wondered why I was a bad child after that. Of course, I don't know if that's connected, but they were great about that.
Well, I think if you name a boy Butch, you're going to get him. You're going to get a tough kid, and if you name somebody after a hurricane, I wouldn't be totally shocked to get a tough kid. But let's dive into the e-bikes that we want to talk about. How long have you been with e-bikes?
I've been with e-bikes for roughly 1 year. It's been very great for me. I'm very happy to share all of my experience with people who come into the store, but also people who contact us over Facebook.
Okay. I've met your boss, John Cho, who started the company. I don't even know how long ago, but he's been around for a while, and he's kind of a pioneer in the e-bike world around here, I think. And he seemed like a nice guy. So I hope he's as nice to you as he was to me when I met him. When people come into the store, what do they come in, I'm ready to buy, or do they come in with questions, or, what's the encounter like when somebody kind of brand new walks into the store?
It really depends, honestly. Like, some people are not ready to buy. Some people are just looking. And some people are ready to buy at that second, It really depends on what they're looking for and what their needs are, insofar as maybe you need a specific kind of bike in order to facilitate your lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I think some people will have done their research, and some people are looking around. What kind of questions would they ask you when they come into the store?
A lot of people ask me what range a bike has.
Uh-huh.
So, for an example, a smaller bike might have less range than a larger bike. And this is important to a lot of people because they want more range. A lot of people want more range over smaller range just because, charging is expensive. It can be however much it costs to do whatever in order to charge a bike.
I used to work for the electric company, and I know nobody loves the electric company's rates. So, and they've been pretty high for a while. So I imagine that just like with electric cars, it seems that's the first thing people ask: what's the range, and how much is it going to cost me to charge? And with a car, you have to kind of ask, where can I charge? But with a bike, you can charge at home, right?
Absolutely. You can charge any bike just by plugging it into the wall, which is nice. It's fantastic for a lot of people. And most bikes have removable batteries. So you can lock your bike up outside, take the battery inside, and charge it right there. It's perfect for a lot of people who live in Honolulu.
Okay. And why would you say it's perfect for people living in Honolulu?
Honolulu is generally very small. I know that living in apartments, they're not that big. And I would love a folding bike that had a lot of range, which e-bikes Hawaii has. I enjoy having the range that I need without the headache of a full-sized bike.
Okay. And just so our viewers know, what is that thing over your left shoulder? Is that a bike?
This is actually a scooter. This was an electric scooter that I borrowed from e-bikes Hawaii. It has about 20 miles of range, and I love it. I borrow it on a regular basis.
Okay.
This is fantastic.
So that if they're looking around the store and that's gone, they figure you've gone home already as well. Huh? Is that the way that works?
Well, I really hope that we have our own scooters there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else do you hear from people? If they come back to the shop, I imagine occasionally somebody comes back and says, "Here, take this back. I can't deal with it. The traffic's too much." Do people give it up, or do people come back and say this is really great? Or what do you hear from people when they come back after they've purchased an e-bike?
Mostly what I hear from people is that they love their bikes. 99% of the time I hear from people who have never biked before, who want to reduce their carbon footprint and get an e-bike just for that reason. And 99% of those people, they just love their bikes. And it's fantastic. I'd say like once in a while we have some person who doesn't enjoy their bike, but
there's always a weird one out there, right? Somebody that
usually fix it, whatever it is, like if it's range or if it's like power, we're usually able to fix it and make it how they want it to be.
Oh, well, that's good. That's great. That's great news. And so, in general, do you see business? Is business good? Is it picking up? Is it leveling out? I know there was a kind of a surge, I think, during the height of the pandemic when people didn't want to get on the bus and things. How's business now?
Business is fantastic. Gas prices have been rising, and I feel like that's only contributed to what we're doing. Definitely, like people who want to bike, that's gone up a lot, and people who want to just have transportation, that's gone up a lot. Especially college students who aren't really looking at mopeds or cars. They're coming to us. A lot of electric bikes are cheaper than mopeds. And they're coming to us looking for solutions that can help solve whatever transportation needs they have.
That's terrific. I was surprised. I saw in the Star Advertiser a little while back when the state started those rebates to that there had been more e-bikes registered in the first 2 months of this year than in all of last year. And last year was about 3 times more than the year before. So, and I'm sure that not every e-bike gets registered. So it seems like there's a terrific boom in e-bikes here in Honolulu.
Definitely. You know, I encourage all of my customers to register their bikes. It's a great way to make sure your bike gets back to you if it ever does become stolen.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to go, like, you know, the fees and stuff are supposed to go to bicycle
Like pass and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I'm hopeful for all that. I want all of that. And I encourage my customers to register their bikes. We write out the registration every time that somebody buys something from us. So we vet them. It's their responsibility after that. I genuinely hope that most of our customers register their bikes, but it's not always the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure there are people, there are people buying them in the big box stores now. You can get an e-bike, kind of an e-bike for about $600 at Costco, I know, and I'm guessing most of those don't get registered. They go home and they're on the street before anybody can register them. So we know there must be more out there, but the fact that the registrations are that strong must be very encouraging. And are people coming in and asking, do they already know about the rebate, or do you need to tell them about the rebate? How's that working?
Usually they know about the rebate. Usually they're asking us about how the rebate works.
And you had a lot of people asking, or you feel it's going pretty well?
I feel like it's going pretty well. 90% of our customers roughly ask about the rebate. And I do have walk-ins who already bought a bike, who don't know much about the rebate. They ask me as well, like, hey, how do I do this? And there's a whole place on our website dedicated to how to apply. So I usually just direct them to that.
That's great, because any bike that was bought since, I think, the middle of last year could potentially be qualified for a rebate, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the rebate qualifies for people who don't have a car, or are a current student, or currently are obtaining special benefits from the government.
Yeah.
I have heard of a bill that is maybe being considered that would expand that a bit, but I don't have any news on if it has been expanded or anything like that.
We're recording this a little too early in the session to know what the status is, but we do know that there is a bill to expand the local one, and the national one that didn't make it into the last big legislation. Some of the congressmen from California, I believe, have resubmitted that, so there could be a national e-bike rebate coming, which I think would be great. I know in Denver, every time they launch another rebate, 10 seconds after it goes online, everybody's already subscribed to it. It's just hugely popular, and it just makes a lot of sense. It certainly helps people along. And I think, although those restrictions you mentioned are good, I think it could be broadened to a lot more people, and more people would be interested in it. So you help them if they need to have help. If they're buying a bike from you, you'll help them fill out the forms or show them where to go, or help them get through that. Is that right?
Absolutely. I have on my website how to apply, like every step, how to apply. And if anybody comes in or if anybody calls and they're confused about it, I walk them through the steps. There is a really confusing part of how to apply. And
Okay.
it's called the vendor form. And it's like, oh yeah, I need e-bikes Hawaii, fill that out. But no, the vendor form is just for like the individual. And so I show everybody how to apply, just in case.
Yeah. Well, the government can't make it too easy after all, because that we know. Okay, well, so that's great. So we're seeing more people interested. We're seeing people going for the rebate if they qualify, and we're seeing more and more e-bikes being registered. So do you see any problems, I guess? There's now more and more e-bikes of different speeds. There's more and more e-scooters and e-skateboards. There are these little dinky ones, as I mentioned, that you get from Costco. Are there conflicts? I know some regular bicyclists kind of look down their nose at e-bikes, but do you see conflicts between e-bikes and other kinds of personal transportation?
99% of the conflict that I see is the inability to work on something super tiny. And I'm talking about the Costco bikes. I'm talking about like the Jetson. And it's very difficult to work on those just because they're so proprietary, and they don't support dealers, and it's impossible to like get in and work on stuff. So and this expands into a whole larger area of like things we can't work on. Electrical stuff in general, if it's not something we carry, we can't get parts for it. So, if you order some random e-bike off of Amazon, there's going to be very little dealer support, and no dealer support, I would say, because the dealer is Amazon. Mm-hmm. And, so if you go to somewhere that's a dealer and has an established like connection with the brand, we're going to be able to get parts. We're going to be able to get service. We're going to be able to get, all the support we need in order to fix that. Whereas something like you bought at Costco or Sam's Club, we're not going to be able to support that. Yeah. We're not going to be able to get parts for that. And that's what I really want something like people to realize, because I've had a lot of people who have left my store being like, oh, I'm going to just buy this one, and I can't support it. I can't like get parts for it. I can't do anything for it.
Yeah. So, all around.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of modern life in a way, isn't it? It used to be that any bike mechanic could fix any bike because they were pretty much the same. Now you get into specialties, and much the same with electric vehicles. Tesla won't touch a Nissan, and Nissan won't touch a Tesla, and so forth. So I think that's kind of part of modern life, but I don't think people realize it because they're used to thinking, well, if I get an e-bike, just like my old bike, I'll take it to whatever bike shop and they'll fix it for me. Or they'll get me the parts, but that's not how it works when we get into these really they're very technologically advanced pieces of equipment. So I guess it doesn't work that way anymore. Huh? Okay, so let's go visit the store. Let's get a picture up on the screen. There's the store. This is the one in Kapahulu. It's on Campbell. street. So it's kind of, go to Zippy's and turn right or left, whichever way you're coming from. And that will get you, and if you're a longtime biker here, there used to be a big bike store on the corner at Kapahulu, but now you go a little bit down Campbell and here's the store. So let's, and anybody can see it's not a big store, but it's really packed with a number of different pieces of equipment. So let's go to the first picture of a bike. These are the scooters, right? So here are some of your scooters. Do you have a lot of scooters, or is it kind of limited?
We definitely have a lot of scooters. It's not limited at all. If people want scooters, they can have scooters. I have one behind me.
Right.
This is the more basic one, but they're definitely very popular, especially insofar as the people who go to Manoa or people who are college students.
Mm-hmm.
This one specifically has 20 miles of range, which I think is perfect for Honolulu. Like, there's nowhere really that you're going to be going that has more than that, really. Its bigger brother, which we also sell, has twice the range. And, I mean, that just means you're going to be charging it less. And I'm really excited for that. The scooters themselves have really bright headlights, which is really cool. You don't have to be seen by traffic, but when it's nighttime, it feels a lot better to be seen by traffic.
Okay, great. Let's look at the next one. I think it's going to be a folding bike, which is pretty bright. Tell us a little bit about this bike.
This bike is foldable and practical. A lot of people buy something like this or this specific bike in order to cruise around town and then be able to take it up to North Shore on the weekends. A lot of people love this in order to be able to stuff it into apartments or their trunks or whatever makes them happy. I do have a very select number of customers who buy these just in order to take them around the island. I also have a few customers who are going to UH and need to be able to store something in their apartment. It's really versatile, which is what I love.
That's great. That's great. And the hinge, I've always worried about the hinge. That's got to hold really tight when you screw it together. Is that pretty reliable?
Very reliable. The main hinge that you're talking about is situated like this, and then it has an extra safety clasp that comes over kind of like this.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how to describe it other than that, but it works really well in order to keep the bike from unfolding while you're moving.
Sure.
And even if you have it without the safety clasp, I've never seen one unfold while you're moving.
All right.
Never.
That's great. So let's go to the next one. We're going to run out of time before we do the whole routine. This is the Avington, and my impression is that this is a pretty popular e-bike. Is that right?
Definitely. Avington is our bestseller, and everybody who comes in, it's affordable. It has a lot of features, and Avington works really well for our brand.
That's great. Since you said it's affordable, I think you're on the high end of this business, but how much would a typical Avington bike cost me?
Really depends. An Avington Pace, for an example, might be around $17.99.
Wow.
An Abington level, or another model that had more features, maybe closer to 23.
Wow, I thought it was going to be starting much higher than that. So I'm glad I asked. That's interesting. And I've seen a lot of these around, and they look really solid, and they look really rideable, and that's great. So let's go to another. Let's take one or two more. This is, I think, is this the Rocky Mountain?
This is the Rocky Mountain. This is my main Rocky Mountain that I hate to say it, the boys ride when I'm not looking. But it's a lot of fun. It's a mountain bike. It's a lot more dialed in. It has fantastic components that maybe other entry-level bikes don't have. Something like this would be closer to like 4 to 7.
Okay.
And it would be
mountain bikes generally are more expensive, so that's not a huge surprise, right?
They're a lot more dialed in. They're a lot more, have all those components that you're looking for.
Okay, let's get another couple of pictures before we have to go away. Tell me what is this one? That was fascinating to me.
That is a Turn HSD P9 Performance, and I know that's a really long name. That is something that you can take a child on or a small adult on the back.
Okay.
I really like that because you are able to haul a bunch of stuff. Like if you don't have a person on the back, you can just throw a bunch of bags back there or a box or whatever. It works really well for our Uber driver type people. And it works really well for families who are growing into a bike.
That's great. And okay, one more. This is I don't know. I get confused whether you call this an e-scooter or what do you call this? I guess I should ask you.
This is actually a electric moped, and we just got these in. They've been really popular so far. We have them in red, black, and a grayish color, but they have been super cool for around town. They've got front and rear suspension, which is nice, but yeah, I've been really liking them. They electric all the way.
All right. Is this, I know there's some of these that look sort of like this, that you need to have a special license and some that you don't. Is that right?
That is correct up to a point. The last one you showed me, you do have to have a driver's license for, because that is considered a moped. However, everything else that we've gone over, you do not need a license or registration or anything like that for. Okay,
but you sure ought to wear a helmet, right?
You definitely only have one head that you're born with. If you have more, please let me know, because I would love to see that experiment.
Okay, Galway. Well, when there are secondary heads available, eBikes Hawaii will sell them. So thank you so much. It's really been great to talk to you. Great to kind of do a virtual visit to the store. I'm sure you're in Kapahulu on Campbell. You're in Kapolei. They can look up that, and you're on the Big Island too. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. We're in Hawaii, and Hawaii is kind of unique because they do rentals as well.
Oh, okay, very cool. So if people were interested in something they saw or interested in what else is available, go by eBikes Hawaii. It's a great store with some great people. All e-bikes are all electric vehicles. Some of the bike stores do both traditional and e-bikes, and you may want to get somebody that does all electric stuff, and that would certainly be e-bikes. Really appreciate it, Galway. Thank you so much. And aloha, because you've been terrific.
Thank you so much, Peter. You have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. We've had we'll be looking for more stores to visit, more people to talk about experiences with all kinds of personal mobility, e-bikes, regular bikes, e-scooters, e-skateboards, even, I promise to eventually get to electric wheelchairs as soon as I need to have one. So we're going to continue the show, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And thank you.
Can I tell you a secret before we leave?
Sorry? Say that again?
Can I tell you a secret before we leave?
Sure.
We have fixed wheelchairs at both of our locations before.
Right.
Definitely like something that we want to look into going forward. But, fixing stuff that is malfunctioning or whatever. But,
Good to know. Good to know. I really encourage people to go by, talk to Iniki or whoever you find in the store that day, because they're a great group of people. Thank you again, and aloha to everyone.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.